Welcome, fellow travelers. I'm Shae of the Grey Sentinels, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertek here at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Golden Feather Tavern, where your hosts, Chibi and Vertek, discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week, we invite you, the viewer, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. Today is the 24th of January, 2024. No, it's 23rd. I am so wrong on that. It's 23rd. Don't let me skip ahead on days, people, please. Oh my goodness. And this is episode 194, titled Aqua Vi Shae. And traveling bard joining us today is Shae. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. I rested up my voice. I've got some tea with me. I'm ready to dive into Ashes.
Nice. I had to avoid giggling because there's so many rhymes there. Didn't even do it on purpose. Check that out. And how are you today, Chibi?
I'm doing good. I think there's two of me on the screen,
There is. I am going to be removing the second your shadow.
But yeah, recovering from the Content Creator Summit and everything else. So I'm very excited to have a chill night to just sit and chit chat and not overthink things.
Fair enough. So what do we have on tap for today anyway?
Today we're going to talk about tech for Ashes of Creation, especially with the Alpha 2 coming up in Q3, game systems, and some random topics from around the community, as well as a couple of really interesting fan focuses, one from our own Hydromancer.
Nice. Yeah, I still need to get to reading all of that. I started reading it. It's good stuff, but we can totally talk about that here in a little bit.
Of course. But of course, the primary focus is our guest today, Shae.
Hello.
So what brought you into Ashes of Creation?
Well, somebody at work about a year and a half ago, we talk a lot about Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, and they were like, hey, so there's this game that I'm pretty emotionally invested in, and you might like it. And she told me about it, and I started looking at the showcases, and very easily fell in love with the direction that the game was going. These days, even though she's very interested, I've sort of surpassed the master, as it were. So now I'm the one telling her about all the recent updates and stuff. So yeah, just found out from word of mouth from a friend at work.
Like that one friend that tells you something that they're into, and then you accidentally get super into it, and you're way more into it than they were.
Exactly. Well, I mean, she's definitely still very into it, but it seems like I bring every conversation back to it for sure.
I like it. So that sounds like you're excited then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I probably every day I'm working on kind of something Ashes related, whether it's spreadsheets or guild rosters and things like that. So it's always on my mind.
Vertek, do you have any questions for her?
Organization is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely whenever I get involved in a game, I'm a big fan of logistics. So spreadsheets and presentations and kind of all the stuff that like some people find quite boring, I find quite enjoyable. I like good formatting, and I like to I use Photoshop a lot, so being able to create nice backgrounds and put in some good images and create nice transitions between things. It's all very fun. It makes me feel like I'm playing Ashes to some degree, even though I'm not actually playing the game. I get to think about it all the time by doing all the logistics work.
Yeah, that's fair.
There you
go. So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
We talked previously about this. This is actually the same exact office hour I met Kat. I met you as well, and we were all talking about the artisanship, this kind of development live stream. Is there anything you're looking forward to coming up that you're hoping to see before Q3?
Absolutely, yeah. So in the artisanship showcase, Stephen talked about a manual crafting layer. So he sort of hinted at it. We didn't really see anything about it so far, but I'm a huge fan of something called that I call skill-based artisanship. I really want to see a lot of manual input from players, being able to really kind of like grind a sword against a grindstone, really have that influence the final result. So I'd really like to see kind of what they have in mind for that. And they mentioned having it be part of like the certification process. But personally, I think it would be a nice, like Ashes has like risk versus reward among one of its key tenets. It'd be nice if when you go to craft something or refine something, that you can just craft it or refine it like normally, but you can also opt into something that's maybe a little bit risky, involves some direct input. Some people would call it, I guess, as like a mini game, but some direct input that you can use your personal skill to really try and push that itemization beyond what it normally might, because that creates a really cool dynamic where in the social system for your server, there might be someone who's really good at a certain process manually that you have to bring your materials to them across the world, because they're one of the only people maybe that can actually get like 100% effectively on whatever this sort of manual process is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that idea too. When I mentioned that potentially for processing, I was so excited to kind of have an idea, because they were talking about there being more of a hands-on for processing and stuff like that. So can't wait to see how that works out.
You've mentioned alchemy before.
Yes.
Yeah, like being able to add in potions at a certain speed or grind it down to a particular, nuanced fine level, that might be kind of fun, just having that immersion from that, but also maybe have some certain stats and abilities in that item that get altered based on how well you actually do with that.
Yeah, and that was actually something we've been talking about in our Discord a little bit lately, which is it would also be cool to see if maybe, while you can't, I guess, come up with your own recipes, if there were predefined recipes, but you had to find them through like trial and error of like mixing things, that would be really cool.
That'd be excellent.
I like the whole figuring things out, because even with any other game, right, there's usually guides on how to do it. I just usually ignore those because I want to know how to do the thing, but I usually like the exploring part of figuring it out myself.
Yeah, like it's nice to know the basics, but in a game you want to have that direct influence, a sort of exploration, that feeling, because with Vera, it's an entirely new world, so I really don't want to look anything up online. All the information that I glean, I want to get it either from my own experimentation or from those connections in game. I discover something about, the way to craft something, and maybe, I guard it in a small group, or I sell the information to people, in game. That could be great.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely going to be a lot of keeping secrets to people's selves in this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the idea of being able to have like discoverable recipes too. That'd be neat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they showed some of the customizability of the recipes. The end of the artisanship stream was kind of the closest we've seen so far, being able to involve different materials to alter the end result. I would imagine they're going to have to be very careful not to homogenize that system too much, because they probably want each recipe to feel distinct. So, if you can alter it too much, I almost wonder if that would reduce the value of finding a new recipe.
I can see that.
Definitely a tricky balance I think they'll have to find.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, with you being from Grey Sentinels, I'm going to take a complete and utter random stab in the dark and say that you might be interested in roleplay stuff.
What?
Potentially.
Oh my God.
Well, the question was going to be, what game have you played that you feel has been the best fit so far for those who like to get heavier into roleplay, and what specifically about that game made it that way?
Really good question. So this is gonna feel like a cop-out. Please don't get mad at me. I think
you're gonna be so angry.
Oh, okay. So any game that has those social connections is totally ripe for role play. It doesn't have to be, fleshed out with different animations. It doesn't have to be. It can really just be any game with a chat that you can sort of RP in. One of the ones I did, at least most recently, when everyone was playing Wrath Classic, I did a little bit of that. I haven't actually played that much WoW before, interestingly enough. And I was like, you know what? Hey, I'm just gonna RP as somebody who sells potions, is starting at, just kind of a classic beginner's tale for an alchemist. And I was basically sending mail to people, kind of like writing out these advertisements and, hey, like, I'm a new alchemist in town, just trying to build these connections. And people would respond with that. People would kind of engage more than people realize. So just anything with a chat that you can just sort of invent is totally ripe for that. I'm trying to think if there are any other especially good games for it. I mean, anything that you can use /me or anything that has different emotes or animations, sure. But yeah, you can RP anywhere. And I think that's part of the point, is that with role play, do just sort of an extra layer. I like to describe it almost like a cake. So with ashes, you've got like the bready inside cake. You've got, the bottom layer, which is like raiding, and then you've got a middle layer, which is PvP. But all the frosting between the different layers on the outside and the top of it, that can all be RP. Everything can kind of be wrapped in this frosting of interesting interactions and immersion. So not a specific game, but just really anything that lets you speak to another person, pretty much.
Oh, I could see that.
Okay, that's a very
do you
fair.
have access? Oh, sorry.
No worries. I was just gonna say that's a very fair view. Very fair view.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have access to Alpha 2?
I do. Yeah. I'm trying to think how quickly I bought into Alpha 2 after I was told about Ashes. I think it was pretty quick. I don't think it was next day, but yeah, as soon as I saw,
thereafter.
Yeah, it was pretty shortly after. I actually recently participated in the Delicious Dev discussion, those Christmas recipes that they came out with.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting an Alpha 2 key, which was really cool. I already had Alpha 2 at that time, but I was able to do a giveaway within the guild, which was really fun. So that was cool. So I guess temporarily I had 2 keys.
Nice.
But yeah, can't wait for it.
Yeah, same. I was actually trying to, I was hoping to be able to partake in doing that as well for a key, so we could give it away to our community too. But unfortunately, it was very busy and away during that whole entire time. So
yeah.
Oracle wants to know: are all 4 recipes edible? Did you happen to eat any of them?
So I only tried the biogel slurp, which was kind of the glowing goopy one
noodles.
for the Talnar. Not the noodles one, but the other Talnar one, the drink.
Their drink.
And it glowed pretty well. I think my picture of it was a little generous on the glow. You really have to shine the light directly in it, but it was interesting because tonic water, I think, is like an acquired taste. There's a certain bitterness to it,
Right.
offset by the exquisite blue raspberry jello that was mixed in. So edible, drinkable. Yeah, I survived it.
Well, I'm glad you survived it.
Right. There might be some lingering effects I'm unaware of, I mean, I do glow at night, but that always happened. So
Do you think you'll be a Tolnar?
not myself. So
Okay.
my girlfriend is definitely going to be a Talnar, but myself, definitely a Pyre. Although I said Pyre for a long time. I'm still not sure about the official pronunciation.
Pyre.
Pyre,
Right.
I thought so. Okay. Yeah, so
Don't
I'm
worry.
definitely...
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to go Pyre, but I'm hoping that they have some variation on skin tone, because as you can probably see on screen, my character's backstory is meant to be half Pyre, half Vex, so they're supposed to have kind of some coloration to their skin, sort of like a periwinkle. So I'm hoping that Pyre has some diversity in terms of the tone in the end.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was just going to say earlier that you were definitely not alone in the mispronunciation. I did that for probably 6 months. It
I might still
away.
use it. Yeah, I might still say Pi. Wait, I almost said Pyre. I don't know. I don't even know what my wrong pronunciation was. I think Pyre, I guess, was the wrong one. But
Yeah, I think mine was Parai or Paray or something like that.
now the real question is it a capital R or a lowercase r?
I do believe it's capital.
Okay, I've seen a mixture. I think it is uppercase, but
I tend to be lazy and just type everything in lowercase. But yeah, awesome. Well, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I want for those who have known me for a while, Vertex makes himself like a fruit. For those who've known me for a while, I want glowing antlers or branchlers. I want to be able to have bioluminescent branchlers.
Branchlers? I haven't heard that term before. Is that an official term?
That's what the community has deemed the antlers for the Pyre.
Yeah.
That's key knowledge that I was missing until this very moment. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I absolutely forget who coined it, but it was definitely somebody that just saw it and said they're like antlers, but they're branchlers.
I mean, it makes total sense. Like I can't believe I haven't just had that amalgamation before. I'm hoping that I can have like glassy flower petals off of mine, sort of like glassy cherry blossoms. I think that'd be really nice. So,
I love cherry blossoms. That'd be really nice.
Yeah. So I'm hoping they have a lot of variation in bark texture, if they have like a birch, if they have, a couple different ones.
That'd be pretty. A birch with the cherry blossom.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually getting a commission.
Pink.
Exactly. I'm getting a commission right now of like exactly that. So we'll see how it looks. I'll let you know.
Nice. I will be obsessed over it. Just to let you know, I'm obsessed over like cherry blossom stuff. So
perfect.
Yeah. And thank you, Nair, for putting the correct pronunciation and writing there for us. I appreciate that. Do you have any other questions for our guest?
Not at the moment. I'm sure we'll have plenty as the show goes on, though.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Shae, you may not be familiar with how we work things here, but you, as our guest, will be able to determine. Would you like to start with the random topics section, the game system section, or the tech for Ashes of Creation section?
Ooh, this is a big choice. I didn't know I was gonna have to decide here. Let me see.
You're on the hot seat now.
That's true. That's true. You know what? Let's save game systems for now, because I could probably just go into talking about one of these posts for like 40 minutes on its own. So let's start with the technical side. I think that's safer for now.
All right, sounds good. So there's a few things that the community has been a little bit worried about lately, and that makes sense, knowing that Ashes of Creation's Alpha 2 is on its way. One such thing is a 1660 Ti enough for smooth gameplay? And Vertec, I believe you had a regular 1660 during Alpha 1, and I had a regular, I believe, 1080.
Yeah.
How was your gameplay with your regular 1660?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. And I think it's a pretty sturdy limb. I don't think I'm going to fall on my face, but just based on how the game was running in the Alpha 1, by the time everything's all said and done with all the upgrades they've done and things they're adding to the game still and whatnot, I don't think a 1660 Ti is going to be enough to do it smooth, unless you go with like the bargain basement quality graphics, like all the way down.
And for those who don't know, because a lot of our viewers were not here during Alpha 1, how smooth was Alpha 1 with your 1660?
Not very smooth. And I had it at the lowest setting, but they also didn't have a lot of granularity and control, and I believe for the most part it was just feeding out like whatever it could. But I think...
did you take part? Sorry.
I think I was getting like 20 frames a second or something like that.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to take part. It's actually interesting because, part of the discussion, which I think you'll dive into in a moment, is some of the examples they gave about what works on some of the dev machines. And the dev that described exactly what I have, a 2070, 1440 monitor. So I'm feeling okay. I like that they mentioned specifically what I've got. I was already thinking about upgrading my computer either for Alpha 2 or for launch, but knowing that I would at least kind of get by with a 60 FPS is a good feeling.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that too, because I had a 1080, and that's actually in the rig that we are going to be giving away. And I'm kind of hoping a 1080 will still skirt by. I know it's not a a TI or anything, but I hope that it will still be decent enough to handle that. But yes, one of the things that was brought up was the in this forum they lay out the different rigs that they have in Office, and my point was that, you know, when you're developing a game, that's a very different draw on your resources than when you're playing it, because usually you're like dealing with all the art and all the unoptimized stuff on the back end, so you need a beefier computer to handle that. So I'm hoping a 1080 will be good. But fun fact, I actually asked this question if they could update it for the forum post, but unfortunately Wagner's response does not give me hope for that. At the very bottom, he says, some very helpful answers here. We'll have updated minimum spec requirements as we get closer to Alpha 2's launch in Q3. And I would say, Intrepid, if you're listening, and I bet our guests would agree with us here, please drop it sooner rather than later, especially when it's tax time. And there are people who are probably needing to save up money and or plan for a better rig or building a better rig, which takes time. You know, as MF says, some of the cards are dropping in value, so people might be able to get their hands on some better cards for themselves. But I think having that sooner rather than later is very helpful for people to make sure that they have the time necessary to get prepped, and that, you know, or if they're, you know, not sure if they're ready to upgrade yet, if they can hold on for a little longer before needing to upgrade.
Here's one of the silver linings, though, I think, about people that are using, you know, maybe some older cards, hanging on to, you know, their cherished card, is that let's say they go into Alpha 2. That's actually pretty valuable feedback, maybe for the devs, you know, saying, hey, I've got a card that, you know, is 6, 7, 8 years old at this point. I'm trying to run it on, you know, high settings, and here's kind of the result I'm getting. I think that information could still actually be useful as well. You know, they're definitely going to want to test with a variety of cards, make sure there's no weird issues that crop up. So if you're holding out, if you're going to be waiting to build, you know, maybe closer to launch as opposed to Alpha 2, just know you're probably still helping the process by doing so. So it's an honorable cause if you do decide to hold on for now.
Yeah, definitely. But for the people that have 1660s and they're like, this worked in Alpha 1, will it work in Alpha 2? You know, very valid question.
Yeah. And honestly, I looked up just now during some old messages I sent during that Alpha 1 period. It was actually the old card that I had that was getting like 20 frames per second. I actually got up to, I think, 35 with the 1660, but it was literally just the most basic 1660. I picked it up because it cost $250 at an electronics store. So it wasn't really like a great example of a 1660 even, I'm sure. But it was enough that it got me a much better experience than my old card. And it wasn't quite as pretty as yours. So it was in the middle there.
And again, mine was just a regular 1080, not even a TI, which is what Steven had at the time, 1080 Ti. So I'm hoping it runs it still just fine, but I'm hoping you don't have to have the 20 series to go better. Do you remember the CPU and RAM on the 1660 is what Nair wants to know. As the people who will soldier through this game.
Yeah,
will soldier through this game? Sorry, go ahead.
The CPU I had was from the 4000 series. It was a 4790. It was actually one that stayed alive for a really long time. It was actually a really good CPU there for a long time. And I think I had 16 gig of RAM.
Which we now have much better PC comparatively.
Yeah, I eventually upgraded it to 32, but I forget if that was before or after Alpha 1. I completely forget what I had during that Alpha 1 period. Yeah,
but now Vertec won't even need to worry about any game coming out.
Yeah, now I'm good.
All right, so, okay, I'm not sure what kind of monitors you have, but there are a few people who are worried about OLED monitors when it comes to the UI elements. Especially for parts of the UI elements that'll be on the screen for long periods of time without really moving, like your character nameplate and things like that. How do you feel about that? Is that something that you're worried about? Is that something that maybe should be a concern?
For myself, I don't happen to have an OLED screen. I think that would be nice for getting those really, dark, blacks on the screen. But it's interesting because when people talk about the potential burn-in for OLED screens, I did a little bit of research before this to see if this was a prevalent problem. It didn't seem super frequent, but I would imagine that if it was like a common issue that, it'd be more frequently talked about. Wouldn't it be difficult to play most games though? Because don't most games have some sort of static UI to them, right?
I would say that, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Gandalf.
One thing I would like to see though, I think I've seen it with a lot of games where people will try and do like a HUD-less challenge. They'll just kind of play it without like anything on screen, right? So I guess anyone with an OLED monitor, they could just kind of have that self-imposed challenge with as little info as possible.
I would die so quickly.
I'm sure that's super immersive though.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, immersive. You can get really good screenshots very easily. So that's my hope is, I think back to New World, which just had a really beautiful skybox and sunrises and sunsets. So hopefully you can hide your HUD, if not for, the potential OLED concern, just for enjoying the beauty of Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah. Chappie, to answer your question, I actually believe my AOC monitors, my Aegon monitors are OLED because they were having that burn-in problem. But it's because I will have things up statically for hours at a time, especially when it's podcasting and everything. So sometimes it would happen that it would burn into the screen a little bit. You can see like a ghost of the element on the screen, even with other things below it, especially with white below it. Also, welcome in, Raka.
I think the solution, I think, which is totally real advice, is to just make Ashes the only game you play ever again. Because then if you get some burn-in for Ashes, then it's fine. You just have to never close the game.
There you go. See? Tactics.
Yeah.
Now,
MM says I can turn my brightness to 0 and be good.
Yeah, just play with the screen off. There you go.
Going for that extra challenge mode.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
One thing you could also do is check out, say, I don't know, the MSI AI monitor if you wanted to. That one does some fun things. It actually it is smart and recognizes what's going on the monitor. Has its own little AI chip and engine and model and whatnot inside the monitor. But one of the things it does is it actually dims the monitor diodes, specifically where it recognizes that there are UI or logo elements on the screen for a long time. It'll dim specifically those.
Never heard of that, actually. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's specifically to prevent the burn-in effect. And it'll do that if you're using it as a TV. It'll pick up logos from like news programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is there a type of monitor I can get that will very intentionally burn in within like 10 minutes? just start crafting something and just have like the crafting icons on my screen at all times.
If you're really handy with a soldering iron,
okay, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, Cash for some wood burning lessons, and he can guide you through on etching into the monitor, and it'll just be there.
There you go. It'll be there forever in monochrome.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
Welcome in, Vandar. Vandar says, "Don't change character." Ash's nurse says, "I think OLED monitors also do small tricks like moving static things 1 pixel or so it's imperceptible, but it still helps to prevent it." And I think that's a really good point as well. I didn't think about that. But another thing that people are wanting to know as we move over to game systems about before quarter 3 is character creator. This is from a shown on the forums asking, we all know that alpha is due to hit sometime in Q3. We have been told that we will see the character creator before alpha 2. Any guesses as to when? Do you think we'll see the character creator before Alpha 2 at this point?
Ooh, I want to be super optimistic and just say, yeah, totally. But I think what they could do, and I don't know if this is how they would do it, is maybe only a couple weeks before have the downloadable client where you can, like kind of start the creation process and just prevent logins. I don't know if they would do like a separate downloadable. I think they would just kind of front load it into the Alpha 2 download experience, sort of. I'm really hoping that they do, because I'm somebody that takes like a super long time with character creation, being very particular about things. So I know it'll definitely save me a bunch of time on Alpha 2 launch day if they do that. But I did actually have a question related to character building and character creation.
Okay.
Do you guys happen to, like, if you're placing a scar on a character or something, do you guys say, oh, hey, like that looks really cool? Or do you guys like try and think about like the backstory behind the scar and how that character feels about the scar? Do you get that in depth about it?
It depends for me. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, you go ahead. You go ahead first.
I guess for me, it depends on like what the purpose of my character is for. If it's one of those where it doesn't go that in depth, or like if I'm not streaming it, then, if I am streaming it or the character creator is not in depth, then I just kind of skip over it and I'm like, okay, it's just the basic thing. That's fine. But if I'm not streaming it, like when I was playing Sims and stuff like that, I could sit there for hours just messing with it and seeing what I could do. And I just loved the fact that you could move it and turn it and rotate it and everything. I don't know. That was really cool.
I think it would make sense from a development perspective for them to, want to open up, that Alpha 2 process in piecemeal, kind of get the creator out there, iron out any potential UI things or bugs with it. And that also means that on launch day, they already have a bunch of people that already have, kind of the bones of the client downloaded. So I could see it making a lot of sense for them to incorporate that as part of the launch. A couple weeks out, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling they'd probably want to get it tested a bit, the character creator, before Alpha 2 goes live, just because you don't want everybody jumping into Alpha 2 going, it's broken, I can't even get in.
Right.
But as far as the scars thing, I'm kind of a mix of both. I usually would start off with something that's like, well, what kind of person is this? What have they gone through? And I'll try to pick scars that also look cool at the same time, while being able to fit into what kind of person they are or what may have happened in the past. But I don't really go into a full deep backstory on it so much as like, pick them up along the way, that type of thing.
Gotcha. Bit of a balance, still accounting for their story, but not writing a page long page long about how they got that particular thing. I get you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell the story, but it would be a scar that would make sense for the type of, the places he hangs out and the places he goes and things he does and such like that.
How was the character creator in Alpha 1? Do you feel like it was like a good start, and do you think they'll expand on it a lot?
Ooh. Well, it was incredibly basic, and you basically chose of 3 pre-made models, and I think you could change your hair color. And
there was a lot of very basic presets, not anything too in-depth that we've seen so far. So I'm excited to see how much, if any, has been iterated upon. I think it'd be cool to see a few different races at the beginning of Alpha 2 to play, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope we can sculpt our butts more than our faces. We never see our own faces anyway.
But yeah, Galwood there has it perfectly right. Steven had said the character creator is scheduled before Alpha 2, but I don't think I can't recall specifically if there's been a clarification stating if scheduled before means it'll be completed before, or scheduled before as in tested and available before.
I thought at one point they said it was going to be available prior to Alpha 2 so that people can just mess and test around with the character creator, but I can't find anything solid on that, so it may have been exactly what Galwood said.
Actually, no. I think I just found it right here. Bear with me. Let me get it popped open. Let me get it popped open here.
Basil says, I want to see how the creator is for other races. We have only seen human. Fair. Raka says, Nara, do we get to see your butt in a shady ERP tavern? Wow. Galwad says, yeah, I read the full quote in that wiki link, and it's still pretty vague sounding to me. It could go either way.
Oh.
That's fair.
There you go.
I'm over here.
We aim to have the
Yes.
character creator in the hands of players before the release of Alpha 2, so you will have plenty of time to do just that.
Yeah, that was last April when I
2
believe they
Aprils
were
ago.
first showing. Oh, wow. 2 Aprils ago.
2020.
Leave me alone.
So it could be coming.
2023 was a blur.
It's going to come out either tomorrow or 6 months from now.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere in that range.
Oh
Somewhere in
my
there.
gosh. Never.
Is chat getting spicy right now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I guess moving on to a different class system. This
Mr.
is
Chibi.
this is talking about class flavor from the Reddit from Feroji, saying one thing I love about MMOs is the class flavor abilities. For example, a WoW mages have portals to teleport around, Death Knights can walk on water, etc. I really hope something like this is added in the game. Well, all right. First off, yeah, Samurai is already responding. I feel like what they mean by flavor is actually utility. So, what are your thoughts?
I really like it. I like the idea that they're encouraging class diversity in different compositions. You know, the idea of people are throwing out, you know, a rogue sort of disarming traps and things like that. I think there's a lot of value in having that. My only concern is that how the community responds to that, whether they feel like it's a chore to try and include that, or whether people kind of lean into the positive side saying, hey, you know, I get to have a special thing that my particular class does. I'd actually like to see it deepened a little bit. I don't know if they're planning on just having kind of one core like utility type feature, but having 2 or 3 would be nice for your class, and maybe you're only spec'd into 1 at a given time. Just to add even more character customization and even more, oh, hey, you know, I need a cleric for one of their particular utilities. You don't just go find any cleric. You're kind of talking to a few, seeing which one has that particular loadout set up.
I like that. But before I give my answer for tech, what are your thoughts? Oh my gosh.
Well.
It's a guild umbra. What the heck?
Gildumbra, how's it
This
going?
person's still around? Wow.
This guy. It's been
This
a while,
guy.
friend. Welcome on in.
Old friend of
AOC
Vertex.
is still being launched, probably before the other game that's taken a long time, and we won't mention the name.
I feel like I know which game you mentioned, but I don't know.
Well,
that shall
Umbra
not
would
be
definitely
named.
know. Yeah. But
Is it
Yeah,
coming before I retire?
I have a lot to say about this
Yes.
topic here, specifically because my main class is going to be a tank.
Right.
Can you tell me what the class fantasy and what kind of ability would fit in with what you think of as tank? Because I'll
Stop
tell
to
you
stun
what.
them.
Because I can totally think of, but non-combat if we're just going utility.
Oh.
So, but I can think of something for cleric and rogue and ranger and mage and every other class they have, but just
Okay.
tank.
I
don't
mean,
know.
for
You are
tank,
the utility.
I'm imagining that, you know, maybe a tank, they have to like slam into the ground to be able to like raise something that's buried just from the shockwaves of their force or something.
Yeah.
Shattering through a wall, perhaps.
Gauntlet says strength check to knock down doors.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
There you go.
It could be-
breaking down like those things like if you see in Genshin or Breath of the Wild, where you can like explode it with bombs or whatever. Maybe you just have like the strength where you can just like, you know.
It's like we're on the same
Kill it.
wavelength. I was just gonna say it would be like in Legend of Zelda where you see that obvious door shaped as like the cracked wall, and you can only get in there with a bomb. We can only
Yep.
get in those in Ashes with a tank that runs through the wall.
There could also just be like super hostile areas. Like let's say there's a little like lava waterfall that the tank has to like use some sort of mitigation ability to get through.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah, something like that.
See, you just gotta sit there and think for a moment.
Well, this is one of those like there's not like an actual like class fantasy thing that I can be like a tank, or a tank should totally have something like I don't know, like what? Getting knocked off my horse is harder to do? No, because that's a combat ability. I don't know. Blocking
I
people
was
from
just
no, that's
joking
a
and
combat
saying you are
ability.
the utility. We have a tank. That is all we need. It is a tank.
Yeah. If anyone needs a fence post nailed in, I mean, my face will do it. It takes enough abuse, it's used to it.
Oh my gosh.
You know, if you keep everyone else alive, though, it's kind of like you have like 7 utility skills because you have all of theirs.
Yeah. Right? There you go.
Using your shield as a skateboard whilst you carry your entire party. You know what? That reminds me
No.
also of Breath of the Wild with that desert area, and you get pulled by the giant creatures that you have to stun, and you just like surf across the sand on top of a shield. It was really fun.
So not in a literal sense, but just because you mentioned a shield, this is more of not a technical question, but just an ethical one. Do tanks require a shield to be a tank?
I don't think so. I think a tank, to me, and I'll let Vertek answer after this because he's like the tank, but to me, a tank is just somebody who can be a barrier between me and the thing that's trying to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And like somebody that can do a lot of the mitigation for me so that I can stay alive and or heal other people.
Gotcha. Regardless of whether they have a shield or not.
Yeah, exactly. Vertek, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those, like the optimal tank is going to be able to, or is going to basically require the shield, because every class is going to be maybe not married, but at least seriously dating a specific weapon.
Yeah.
And if the shield's in the game, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be the tank's thing, is it's going to require a shield and a one-hander, probably a shield and sword, I would imagine. And everything else will be possible, but you're going to lose out on things like your shield bash, and I'm going to guess the Aegis skill that he used, the big one that puts like the giant dividing the flame wall coming towards you and protects everybody behind you type skill. I imagine that's going to require a shield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there might be some sort of parry things that they involve, you know, if you're using a two-handed sword or something.
Yeah.
By the way, just because I know you guys like puns, do you ever go by Vertank?
Tank. I think someone had mentioned it once or twice.
Or I do call him DJ Vectech because he's gonna play it back and he likes to DJ. So DJ Vectech.
Love it.
DJ Vectech. I'm just saying, Intrepid, if you want to hire a DJ for any say conventions, parties, or otherwise, you just let me know.
We're just gonna change you from DJ Vertech to DJ Vectech just so you're more Ashes focused.
Nice.
Teasing. But this is back on the forums from Umbral Moth, talking about a mining system idea they had. And they said, what do you think of this idea for mining gathering system? I made an animation for it, but I'm not sure how to post it here. It seems like video isn't allowed, so please forgive typos. I know there are a few. And in general, they go through and there's like a really nice infographic on it. What are your thoughts from like what you've read through?
So this is the topic that I was saying that I could talk about for a long time. I will make sure and keep it succinct, but yeah, definitely just a shout out to them for creating this, because you know, again, I'm a big fan of skill-based artisanship. This is maybe more choice-based artisanship if I'm interpreting it correctly, but yeah, being able to put a visual to some of these discussions around more nuanced gathering, refining, and crafting systems, you don't actually see a lot of that. I'd love to see more visual representations of what people discuss for this. So yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense to, you know, we talk about crafting and adding more depth to that. You know, in the artisanship stream, they went into some detail about how you can alter the end result of your crafting, but things like refining or even gathering here, I think they also deserve quote unquote gamification, you know, giving people something very specific to do, some choice, some player involvement in the actual activities. So so yeah, no, beautiful looking graphic. They definitely explain their thoughts well. I'm gonna have to read through it a couple more times just to, you know, fully absorb it, but yeah, this is exactly the type of direction that I think they would benefit from including in Ashes, because there aren't a lot of games that I can think of that really go into this sort of type of mechanics. And I think because of how integral artisanship is, I think the more that they can invest in those systems, the better.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they did, like you said, a really good job of laying it out and explaining it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very pretty looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, when somebody is going to be spending so much time gathering, refining, and crafting, I mean, there are going to be nice moments between those. You're traveling, you're looking at things, you're exploring, but yeah, making the activities themselves more involved, especially if they make it optional where, you can just sort of mine the node, move on, take your time, that's, or just hastily go between things, that's fine. But yeah, if somebody wants to take the time on a node and maybe benefit from it, put their effort in and kind of get rewarded for it, I think that feeds into some of the design choices they're already emphasizing for Ashes, especially if a system like this where you engage in a choice between mining, iron or some gems, maybe you have like a 10% chance of getting a super high quality gem, but an 80% chance that it fails, or that would definitely increase the replayability of some of these systems. It would allow people to feel like they're specializing. And so, yeah, that would actually give other ways for them to increase options in the skill tree too. So definitely an awesome post. I definitely recommend everyone check it out and weigh in on it.
Yeah, I agree. Nara says, I wish Umbral made that thread in general, and so I pretty much never checked the other forums other than announcements. To be fair, this is actually why I brought the API to pull like topics from the forums and put it in our Discord, because then I have one place to check everything coming through. Because otherwise, there's going to be a lot that I miss, to be honest.
Yeah. After A2 goes live, though, that channel is going to be very active.
Woo. Yeah, it is. I'm ready.
But for these types of systems, and maybe even for this post in particular, how do you guys feel about involving player decision or player skill in artisanship?
I love it. I'm really hoping for a way for them to incorporate some kind of skill / at least effort that's not boring, busy work feeling effort. Like with that mining idea there. I think that's really cool, as long as it doesn't rely too much on ping. Personally, I've never cared too much about the whole ping thing, because I've played games and been super far behind, like 300, 400, 500, 600 milliseconds, and I've just had to basically game within a game with that and try to predict what I'll need to do and where it's going to land after the fact. And I just kind of accepted my fate, but I do know there's going to be people that are going to be playing far away from the data centers, and they just won't be able to help their ping. It's not going to be occasional. It's going to be a long-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's going to be harder for them to deal with. And a mini game kind of like that is, I think, why Intrepid steered away from doing a couple of the mini game ideas that they may have had. And I know for sure they had a combo system at the very beginning of development that they were talking about doing, where there was a little white line that would go across the screen, and if you hit it perfectly on the X marks the spot type of thing, you would get points towards getting like a super combo damage attack. Mm-hmm. But they did away with that as soon as they realized that ping was going to be a serious issue with it, and that this mining system idea looks very much like it. But I like the concept, but I know it's going to be difficult to make it happen. But I really want there to be some kind of a game that adds to either quality or quantity of your output, that takes you a little bit more, hopefully skill, but maybe creativity, or at least time and effort to get more out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
For me, I like the mini games that are associated with crafting and stuff in general. I like that Nara says, I agree with what Nara says. The proposed mining system there is much better than those regular timed skill checks. And yeah, it's mainly because of the ping. On single player games is not bad because everything's hosted there locally for you. But for somebody connecting, even if like one of the servers were to be a little bit slow, even with Twitch, for example, just us trying to connect to Twitch sometimes is a little stressful. But in general, I think it's a way to liven it up. It's a way to make it more interesting and not just sit there and, just, I guess, hold the same thing over and over. Though I will say there is something to be said for crafting when you want to just set it and forget it, set it to X amount, and then just go do like a laundry changeover or something real quick. Like, I like that capability, but then opt into doing what you suggested previously, which is the more hands-on articulation of the crafting or the processing.
Yeah, I think that's why it would be important for it to be optional, because people might have particular limitations, in terms of networking. There might also be really good accessibility reasons for them to make it optional. Right. But yeah, in terms of, you mentioned the technical side of it, I think steering away from timing related ones might be quite valuable, but there are a lot of different ways at a foundational level you can do it. So, having it based on, choice and decision, you can have it be based on risk and luck. It can also be based on precision as well. So a lot of different types of mini games aside from the timing one. So in this case here, for precision, maybe you have to move your mouse on screen in a particular direction, tracing paths and different things like that, which kind of reminds me of like old Mario Party games, I guess. But
it also kind of reminds me of a more modern game, the Hogwarts Legacy game, where when you learn a spell, you have to trace the spell before you can unlock it.
Sure. Yeah. Things like that. There's even a game, this is going to be a deep cut if one person recognizes this. There's a game called Fantasy Blacksmith, which kind of goes into a lot of those very hands-on type of systems. It's a little rough around the edges, but it kind of has you pick the different pieces of the item. You grind down the blade. There's a lot of really direct involvement with the crafting, maybe even more so than I would expect for Ashes to execute on, but having precision, risk, luck, choice, decision, as opposed to timing, those are all different ways that they could gamify it, keep it interesting, and add some extra ways to keep it spicy.
Yeah. All right, I think we should move on to the random topics, and since we're already talking about games and other game systems, Dukian is looking to play some Lineage 2 in preparation for Ashes, or Alpha 2, because Ashes is highly inspired by Lineage's design compared to others. And they're just looking at things like Guild Wars 2 and similar. But are you playing anything that you feel like is preparing you for Ashes of Creation at all? Or are you just playing kind of any sort of waiting room game for waiting for Alpha 2?
The game I'm playing most is definitely Google Sheets and slides and docs. So, if that counts as a game, then sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't do that with the purpose of trying to like do too much out of Ashes stuff. Definitely once I'm playing, I want everything to try and be in game and in character as much as possible. But to honestly answer the question, I know tomorrow there's going to be a game Enshrouded that comes out that's definitely, about
our guild has talked about it.
Yeah, there's, exploration and crafting, and apparently it's Valheim-like. I haven't looked too much into it, if only because I like to avoid any sort of spoilers if possible.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's going to be one. I think right now I'm definitely more focused on building the guild, because, at the end of the day, whether I'm ready for Ashes, the game itself or not, I want to make sure that I have the best possible people around me. So right now it's mostly focusing on the out of game, developing connections with people, and then taking Ashes, whether we're practicing in a different game or not. Yeah, we are trying to find different games to play though. So Enshrouded is one. Valheim, we did play WoW for a little bit. PAX Day is also another one actually that we've been playing whenever they did the last test. PAX Day definitely felt like the closest analog to Ashes. So that's probably going to be a good one for getting us up to speed.
That's fair.
What about you guys?
Well, Vertek and I have been playing Overwatch together, but Vertek, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a whole bunch of random stuff. Nothing for too terribly long, but I'm thinking about getting back into Guild Wars 2 with the guild. because there's some people playing that, and I actually really like Guild Wars 2. I played it for a while and didn't have anybody to play with me, so I ended up fading out of it because it wasn't as fulfilling just logging on my own just to play it. I mean, the story's good enough. It felt okay for a single player game, but then when I got to the end game, I was like, well, let me go ahead and start a new character, and then I got bored of that. But as far as Lineage 2, I can say that I didn't even find out that the game existed until I saw it as a mobile game app, and I said no. And I completely ignored anything I ever heard about Lineage 2 because I didn't want to pick up a mobile MMO.
So I first heard of Lineage 2 back in a magazine advertisement back when it first came to NA, and I didn't really have a computer at the time that I could play it with, but I remembered imagining kind of what that would be like. It looked really cool. I've never had a chance to dive in, but given that there's, I think Steven's mentioned pulling the what's the actual name for the system? Not aggro, but the way that you flag in PvP, I guess, is apparently like Lineage 2.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it definitely could be a fun one to take a second look at.
Yeah, Gandalf also says the corruption system. Chappie says no balance until beta. Why even worry about being good at this point? But like,
Chappie.
Like it's important to not burn out with something similar to you feel. So you feel like Ashes is fresh for Alpha 2.
Great point. I'm currently playing Backpack Hero, which allows me to practice the spatial inventory system a little bit. So
yeah,
that's about the closest as I'm getting.
Yeah, Chaffee, get good as a lifestyle choice. Just because you don't feel the need to get good. Just saying.
Since we're getting close to time here, I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the fan focus section while we do a little bit of a wrap up. But MF, you're going to like this because you were talking about being pro Tolnar. Well, let me introduce you to the Tolnar's Song of Dreadful Dawn, which is a poem by Barzell on the forums. So I have a feeling you might enjoy that. I'm not going to read it. It's quite lengthy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's not a short poem.
But I think you might really enjoy that for those of you that just in general like either lore stuff or roleplay things. Oracle says, I'm playing a lot of single player games because Ashes is going to take many years of my life, so I need single player fix. I feel that. You just bought Pal World? Nice. Yeah, I may have been suckered into buying it. Not gonna say one way or the other yet. And then definitely for the role players, definitely. If you like fanfics, if you like role playing, if you like any of that stuff, Hydromance or Hydromancer on our Discord wrote up a short story that's a work in progress called My Kingdom for a Tavern. And we highly recommend that you check that out too, because I got to read a little bit of it when he was first getting it together. It was actually funny. He wasn't even intending on writing it until we were chatting in the Discord, and he was like, should I do it? And a few of us were like, yeah, do it. And he was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And now it's a short story.
It was absolutely a case of peer pressure because we loved the idea of it. It sounded fantastic. I'll be honest, I also haven't read the whole thing just because it's been really, really busy with us since he posted it. But what I have read, I like. I truly enjoy.
Yeah.
So please check it out. Give it a read.
But I guess with that being said, it's already an hour. I can't believe that flies so fast.
That was so quick.
Yeah, it does go by quickly.
Is there anything that you would like to leave the viewers with? Either a something that stuck out with you, something that you would like to let them know, something that you're looking forward to, anything? Any remaining thoughts?
I'll just talk a little bit about the Grey Sentinels, just about RP and about endgame content. So I swear it won't be specifically an ad, but yeah, I think
plug away.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, I mean, the Grey Sentinels, we want to be a guild that brings together end game content and role play. We really see, some people, they really just focus on, hardcore running content. Some people, really dive into the role play and, don't go too far into the mechanics. And so we really want to bring these sort of two types of people together to kind of help enhance each other's gameplay, right? Because Ashes, we're going to want to play it for years and years. And so regardless of how much content Intrepid brings to the game, being able to kind of tell our own stories and kind of track our legend as we play through the game, and some of our members, have these heroic actions and these kind of clutch decisions. We want to track all of that and really bring some of that spice to all the things that some of the hardcore content people are doing, have the RP people really kind of throw like a party for everything that the guild is doing together. So I would recommend, even if you aren't looking for a guild right now, I would consider, mixing in a little bit of RP, whether it's just kind of a slash me describing yourself as you're running through the woods, coming across a stranger. All of these different things kind of enlivens the world of Vera a little bit more. So if that sort of thing interests you, definitely take a look at the Grey Sentinels. We're a medium to large size group. Definitely looking to hit things hard from both perspectives of content and RP. But even if you don't happen to join, involve a little bit of RP in your life. Give it a shot. If you've never done it before, I think you'll enjoy it, and it'll make the world a little bit more engaging and immersive for yourself and for others.
Very nice.
Hear, hear.
My lasting thought is we are excited for more hands-on crafting. It is ironic that people you want to spend more time with the time flies, but the people you don't want to be with seem to take longer. Oh yeah, that's fair.
I'll take that as a good sign. This went by super fast.
It did.
I really had a blast. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Same. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
And
great conversation. I was just gonna say, I also really like how you brought questions for us too. We always love when people actually bring their own little topics and things they're curious about. So appreciate that.
Awesome. Of course, I was happy to do so. I look forward to watching more episodes of you guys in the future. Kind of stick along, and I'll send you guys the art of the cherry blossom branchlers.
I can't wait.
Once that's done.
Love it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you liked this type of content and you want to see more of this, please don't forget to give us a like and a follow or a subscribe on the YouTubes and the Twitches. We really appreciate that if you haven't already. But also, we're going to raid over to Nice, who's doing Voices of Air with a special guest, Vladis. We had both Nice and Vladis on Saturday, and we are getting the official content creator, or unofficial content creator summit up for you guys. We're getting that up officially soon. Like, I'm gonna upload the thumbnails is there already. So yeah, but
officially posting up the unofficial summit.
Yes, officially posting the unofficial stuff. But join us in sharing some love over to them.
Yes, please. And thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Thank you for joining in the conversation. Thank you for just being you, and again, just keeping us company. It's the greatest form of support you can give. We'll always say that.
I think I have the right one.
And do have the right one.
Good.
Nice.
Didn't want a repeat of last week.
Wait, nope. Cancel that one.
Canceling.
Yeah. Nice Gaming TV.
Oh,
TV.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah. My brain just exploded on that one. Okay, yeah.
I got it.
Okay, perfect. But yes, thank you for spending your time here. We do not give refunds of time because we can't. So, very valuable. Thank you.
Sending over a nice raid.
We will catch you next time. Bye.